Ishu Nityam Bhagavata Sevya Bhagavati Uttama Shogi Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtike Nigama Kapadur Garitam Param Shukamukaramita Dravi Samitam Pibata Bhagavatam Rasa Mariam Mahora Horasiku Bhubi Bhagam Naishtike Vishnu Swadama Bhagate Damagini Hisha Karunashta Dvishamesha Paranako Dunodita Twamapiada Vishuddha Vishuddha Vibhu Samyapyanena Birambiduksaram Prakyahidaho Moradam Sankleshana Sandhi Nanyataha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radhakanta Namostute Jayatam Surito Pangor Mater Mater Gati Matsavasha Parambo Jaradana Madana Mohano Sriman Rasarasaram Bivam Sivara Karsan Vinoshanopagara Gopanata Sri Esnaham Divyat Brindaranya Kapadrumada Srimad Radhakada Shima Sanishto Shri Sri Radha Shila Govindaro Prasadabhi Seva Manushmanami Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmanya Taya Chajigari Taya Krishnaya Govinaya Namo Namaha Mangalang Bhagavan Vishnu Mangaram Guru Jam Mangaram Parini Kaksho Mangaraya Tanohri Om Narayanaya Vidmihi Vasudevaya Dhimahi Tano Vishnu Prachodhyate Om Mahadevi Chavidmihi Vishnu Padni Chidimhi Tano Lakshmi Prachodhyate Mahalakshmi Namastuvyam Sare Sare Hari Pare Namastuvyam Dhyadire Tapta Kanchana Gauranga Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishavanasute Devi Pranamani Hari Prem Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Thanks for joining us this Monday morning. Vallabhachandra and Leelavati, hope you're feeling better. Leelavati has been sick for a better part of a month now. We feel very sorry about that and hope that you're on the rebound. As far as Vallabhachandra, he was here last night, gave the talk, did an incredible job. I marvel at the progress he's made as a communicator from his first 2 or 3 efforts. He's completely stepped up. The wonderful presentation. And I noticed from the comments on Facebook this morning that Kelly Phelps from Idaho has a question for you about the placement of his TV. His question is accompanied by a couple of photos to show where his altar is and where his TV is. And he wants you to answer him as to whether any changes should be made. He's quick to note that his TV is used for devotional videos. I think he said about 30% of the time, or maybe 50%. I don't know. So I'm hitting that ball in your court. Answer him. And also you'll notice Param Parush, also from Australia, he, repeated back. He typed back many of the points word for word that you made in the talk, and you'll find those as numerous comments in the comment section. So real well and good. On another note, I had not planned to be in Spanish Fork this Monday morning. I had planned to be part of the Festival of Bliss in Houston, Texas, which was held on Saturday between 10 and 3. Indeed, having airline reservations to fly to Houston Friday night by Bobby, went up Thursday, I believe, spent the night there. We did various services at the temple in anticipation of heading to the airport about 2 o'clock or 2:30 on Friday afternoon, when around 11 that morning, I got a text from American Airlines that the flight was canceled. Ironically enough, had the flight been a direct flight to Houston, there would have been no need to cancel. But because the flight, it was a one-stop flight, that one stop in Dallas, Fort Worth, and there was severe weather, snow and ice apparently. So made the mistake of trying to book it through Dallas to save a few dollars. That proved fatal, at least to the trip. So anyway, Vaibhavi spent Saturday again, another day in Salt Lake City doing this and that, spending some quality time together, which was one of the purposes behind our booking the weekend away in the first place. And I saw some pictures and some videos and talked to Prafulla, the organizer. The festival was successful. Madhu was there with all of his tents. Malini was there and she took over the MC duties in my absence. I would have been able to do about 5 to 6 songs had I been there on stage. And so I resolved throughout the day, Sunday, to do 5 or 6 songs. And so I was backing various volunteers and devotees and guests into corners and rapping to them in an answer to the kind of inquisitive looks on their eyes and their furrows on their forehead as to why I always swing a little forward with the rap songs. I told them I'm compensating for having missed this festival in Houston. Nothing looms in the immediate future, save and except New Orleans. What am I speaking? New Zealand. We have plans to go to New Zealand by way of Hawaii in January. They have 15,000 people who go to their Festival of Colors, which is scheduled on February 2nd this year. I've been in touch with New Zealand devotees and Hawaii devotees en route, and we're all communicating. So it should be a good journey of about 3 weeks' time, from January 10th till February 7th, I believe. Now here we are, revisiting the 10th verse in the 3rd chapter of the 8th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. The question is, how do we hold Krishna in our heart? It's not through scholarship, it's not through yoga, not through austerity, it's not through good looks, not through bank balances, not through social acclaim. So this view gives us a clue here. Nama, Atma, Pradipa, Shakshine, Paramatmane. Krishna is situated along with the individual soul in the heart. The soul is there, that entity who gives identity to this bodily form and psyche. There are many, many souls actually within the body, but there's one soul that is prominent. There's one soul that's you. And that soul is 1/10,000th the size of a tip of a hair, microscopic. Accompany that soul is the Paramatma, the super soul. Your soul knows the pains and pleasures in this particular body, but our consciousness doesn't extend to other bodies. Also, I have to qualify that to say that we don't really know much about what's going on in our own body. We know a few general things. The specifics we're not aware of. We know that when we eat food, we get energy, and that food, after having been processed, is defecated, evacuated. But we don't know the details. We don't know the specifics, the nuts and bolts of it. We just know it in a general sense. We know our hair grows, our nails grow. We know if we have a pain in our side. Well, we have consciousness. We're conscious living beings. But to be honest with you, our consciousness is not very expansive, nor is it very precise, nor is it very strategic or precise. We just are conscious in some dull, restrained sense of the word. So the difference between the Atma, which is you and I, and the Paramatma is that the Paramatma is the source of all consciousness. Imagine the difference between the sun globe and a little particle of sunshine. There's some similarities, both possess light and heat, but the sun globe is so much more. So much more than the Atma is the Paramatma who exists within our heart. Not only does the Paramatma exist within our heart, but he exists within the hearts of all living beings. All living beings, not just humans, but every single species, every single individual member of every single species spread throughout the millions of universes. There's a Paramatma. The example is given on an August day. You might be at a concert or a soccer game or something. There might be 10,000 people in one general area, field or a stadium. You ask every single person, where's the sun? They'll say it's on my head. Every single one of those 10,000 people will say the sun's on my head. So God, or the Paramatma, is one. At the same time, he expands himself into the hearts of every living entity, just like it could be said the sun is far away, millions of miles away, and it is simultaneously on every one of our heads. Well, that Paramatma dwells in the heart alongside of us, is all-knowing. He knows more about your body than you do. He knows specifically how food is digested. He set up the system in his expanded Vishnu form. He maintains the system in one of the expansions of his Vishnu form. He knows the beginning, middle, and end. And not only does he know everything about what's going on in your body and in your mind, but he knows what's going on in the bodies and minds of every living being simultaneously. This is Shakshina Paramatma, the Paramatma, indwelling spirit or Holy Ghost, whatever you want to call him, who's the witness, the overseer, Upadasha Namantita Bharta Bhakta Paramatma Yavade Deshmin Karvana. He's witnessing all of your activities. He is Namo Giram Viduraya Manas Chedishamapi. Namo, you cannot approach him through your speaking. You cannot approach him through your thinking, your manasas. You cannot approach him through your words. You cannot approach him through your eyes. Through none of those three instruments can you capture, can you subordinate the Supreme Personality of Godhead, not by seeing, not by speaking, not by thinking. He cannot be reached by any exercises of the mind, manasash, by words, gira, or by consciousness. Now, to that ineffable Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is closer than a brother, he's the soul of our soul. He cannot be approached by the mind, by the eyes, or by the words. And yet, he's, in fact, you might say he's so close we can't see him. He's so close that he's invisible. And yet, he has been seen. He has been viewed. His darshan has been achieved by hundreds of thousands of saintly people throughout all of history. And so what can we learn? How can we learn the technique to cause God to reveal himself through our eyes, through our words, and through our mind? When knowing that our eyes, our words, and mind don't have the power to capture God, how can we use our words, our eyes, and our mind in such a way that God is irresistibly attractive, is irresistibly compelled to reveal himself within our hearts? There are many powerful demons like Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha. There was Bali Maharaj. There was Jarasandha, Sisapal, Dantavarka, Dhanukasura, all of whom they exhibited immense powers for destruction, for warfare, for inflicting pain and suffering. And they threw themselves and their armies at Krishna. Every one of them was just chewed up by Krishna, just like moths into a fire. So the process of the practice of forcing Krishna to do anything, to submit to power, wealth, armies, weapons, martial art skills, strength, muscles, influence, gold, wealth, bank balance, good looks, good connection. You throw all that against Krishna and he just devours it like a moth is devoured by flames. So considering all of that, considering the extensive history of all kinds of powerful living beings who tried to force Christians to submit and whom themselves were destroyed in the effort, is there nevertheless something that forces Krishna to reveal himself to the supplicant? And the answer is yes. What is that? Jigyasha. Jigyasha means if one has a heart, humble heart full of sincere inquiry, if one is a sincere seeker of the absolute truth, not just a poser, not just a pretender, someone who presents himself as a truth seeker, as a sincere questioner, as a searcher, as a student. I've been around long enough to know that there are many, many people who present themselves as a quote unquote sincere seeker. They make a career out of it. And they're so predicated, they identify themselves as seekers to the extent that when something genuine and authentic, or someone genuine and authentic crosses their paths, which could potentially result in their immense good fortune, they're so much in the habit of sucking and draining and then disposing that they have lost the power of discrimination between the real and the false, the authentic and the inauthentic. I remember one fellow who considered himself a spiritual seeker who was talking to a guest as I happened to pass by at the bottom of the stairs. And I caught the phrase, my current guru, my current guru. I thought this guy is not going to make it, not in this lifetime anyway. You you exert yourself with sincere inquiry. You bring your doubts, you bring your hard questions. But when you get the answers and when you meet someone who is through and through dedicated to the service of the Lord, someone who is authentically representing the Lord by virtue of the fact that they serve their guru, who him or herself was an authentic representative of the guru, and so on and so forth, all the way back in the chain of disciplic succession. When you read someone who has the answers, who is the answer, who personifies the answers themselves, and who is empowered by the chain of disciplic succession, you have to stick there. You have to take inventory, put your questions, put your doubts for a certain reasonable period of time. And after you've gotten your answers, after you've checked out the person, generally speaking, in traditional India, before someone would ask a guru for initiation, and before a guru would even consider initiating a disciple, a time period of 1 year would have to elapse. It would have to be an entire year, during which time the disciple inquires with sincerity and serves, because after all, he's taking up the valuable time of a self-realized soul, taking up the valuable time of a representative of the Lord who created millions and millions of universe. That should not be taken lightly. If you're going to take up the time of he who represents the creator of millions of Shivas, millions of Brahmas, millions of Vishnu, you had better reciprocate by doing some service around the ashram of the spiritual master. So if someone sincerely inquires and serves with the goal of discovering what the absolute truth is and bringing one's search to an end, Prabhupada once said the difference between Sankhya Yoga, searching yoga, and devotion yoga, between Sankhya and Bhakti, is that Sankhya is looking for the root of the tree. Bhakti has already found the root of the tree, and Bhakti is all about watering the root of the tree. And Bhakti is all about not the search, but the service. Sankhya is not about the service, but it's about the search. We should never inquire about the absolute truth as a dalliance with the prejudice that will suck out what we can from this guru, and then we'll go like a bee to another guru with another philosophy, another practice, another absolute, and so on and so on and so on. It's not like a bee going from flower to flower. It's not like picking and choosing chocolates from a box. Having had the good fortune to encounter a bona fide spiritual master in one's life, one must, since Tadvidi Pranipanana Pradid Bhakshana Sevaya Upadakshanti Te Gyanams Ganinas Tatvadarshanaha. One should try to learn the truth. The Bhagavad Gita itself gives the prescription for understanding the Bhagavad Gita. The Bhagavad Gita is a song of God. This is God's intimate revelations from his own mind, shared with his best friend Arjuna. There is nothing that can compare to the intimacy and confidentiality of the knowledge in the Bhagavad Gita, not only because God is speaking directly from his mouth over 700 words, for which we have no precedent in all of spiritual recorded history. Not only is that the case, but he's speaking to his best friend and confidant. There's nothing that can even come close to the quality of the level of knowledge that's there in the Bhagavad Gita. However, to understand it, you have to follow the prescription in the Gita itself. And in the 34th verse of the 4th chapter, Krishna gives us the key to unlocking the wisdom of the Gita. Tad vidi parnipranena, pariparshenasha, upadeksanti te gyaram gyananas tapadarshino. One must try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master, inquire from him submissively, and render service to him. The self-realized soul can impart knowledge to you because he or she has seen the truth. This is the path by which you can force Krishna to appear, to reveal himself within your heart. There's nothing else that impresses Krishna. When he sees, and it's more like Krishna's right there already. It's not like he's with a telescope, or he's looking down on Earth millions and millions a while when he kind of spots someone who looks like they're doing the right thing. Krishna can smell our intentions even before they solidify into thoughts and words and expressions and actions. Can smell where we're at. You cannot fool Krishna. You cannot pull the wool over Krishna's eyes. You cannot put one over on Krishna. He's closer than a brother. He knows what your intentions are. Gajendra, in all of this, Gajendra is saying, I'm thinking of you. I'm trying to see you present and everywhere in your Paramatma in my heart. And I'm trying to describe you with words. Manasa, gira, chaksu. Trying to see you. I'm trying to use my words. And I'm also trying to think of you. In all of that, I know that there's nothing at the end of the day I can do to force you to come. But you know my heart. The words, the thinking, the seeing, they're expressions of my heart. I might be able to fool a hypocrite, a pretender, might be able to fool others by the way that he's speaking or by what he's seeing or how he comports himself. But Gajendra is saying, Lord, I know I can't fool you because you know my innermost motives, my innermost reasons for doing what I'm doing. And I know, and I want to confess to you first and foremost, I know from the very beginning in all of this, I know that there's no words I can speak that'll force you to appear before me. There's no way that I can force you to reveal your form to my eyes. And there's no way that I can coerce you into appearing within my mind. But these are what I have. These are the tools that I have. And so I'm going to use them and direct them and orbit them around you. And then I'm going to depend upon you to estimate the state of my heart, to calculate my motives, And if I pass the test, then I know that this is the formula which is irresistible to you, that wherever the Lord sees with a pure heart, devotees offering prayers, asking the Lord to appear before their mind and before their eyes, I know that historically speaking, you have responded to such petitioners. An example that springs to mind, I think we talked about this briefly last week, was Vasudeva. Said that before Krishna appeared before the eyes of Vasudeva and Devaki, he first appeared within the mind of Vasudeva. He appeared within the mind of Vasudeva, and then he transferred into the womb of Devaki. So what was it about the mind of Vasudeva that attracted him to appear? It was a mind which was pure of motivation. It was a mind which had no material pretenses. It had no hidden motives, no deals to be matched, no need for pretense, no roles to play. Vasudeva was fixed in the consciousness that Krishna was his master, and as a servant, he's there to obey. The role between Vasudeva and Krishna is the role between master and servant. That's their bond forever and a day. Vasudeva did not want anything for himself. He did not have any material motive or agenda. In serving the Lord, it was in the prison house of Kamsa. All of his material desires and ambitions were smashed and frustrated. Krishna had put him in that position so that he could, without any motives and without any deals to be matched or any need for pretense or roles to play, simply heartfeltedly cry out for Krishna. Into such a mind purified of self-motivations and selfishness, Krishna appeared. And Krishna himself is the impetus for that kind of worship. Tesham evanu kampartam. He's within the heart. And when he discerns the sincerity of the living being, the lack of motivations, the lack of hypocrisy, the lack of pretense, Tesham evanu kartam aham agana. Nisyami Gana Deepana Bhashvata. It is Krishna, it's not the living being who ignites the fire by which one closes the gap between oneself and Krishna. It's not the living being. It's the mood, it's the consciousness of the living being which emanates from the jiva, which the Lord, accompanying the jiva, discerns. And when the Lord discerns that purity of motive, then the Lord states, declares in the Bhagavad Gita, Tesham evanu kampartam, I, who is dwelling within the heart, accompanying the living being, destroy with the torchlight of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. It is sometimes, this analogy is used, the lamp, the tool, the instrument is the body. The wick, the cotton soaked with ghee, which sits within the cavity of the lamp, that's our sadhana. That's the number of times we've gotten up early, taken a shower, remembered the Lord, shravanam, kirtanam, smaranam, chanted, repeated, remembering the Lord over a sustained period of time. That has to do with our consistency, our sadhana, like that. But to get the flame lit, there's only one person can light the flame. The lamp is our body, which we can use, consecrate in the service of the Lord. The flame is our consistency, our determination, our sincerity, not the flame, but the ghee wick. But without Krishna lighting that ghee wick in the heart, we can go on with our devotion, we can go on with our physicality, we can go on with our sadhana for millions of years and nothing will happen. The actual flame of devotion has to be lit by the Lord within the heart. And he declares himself only too ready and willing to light the flame of devotion on our behalf, should there be sincerity. This is really deep stuff. Gajendra is calling our attention to the essence of bhakti, that without which even chanting, even arti, even worship, even singing, even kirtan, even taking prasadam will not be fruitful. We have to work not just on the quantity of our service, but on the quality. Arti, for instance, arti is a ceremony that devotees attend at least once, twice, thrice a day. There's beginning from pre-dawn hours. There's the initial arti of the day. There's an arti at noon where a grand food offering is made. There's an arti in the evening. When one comes to arti, tik, tik means attachment, and ar means too much. Appearing before the deity at the time of arti, incense is offered by the priest with his right hand while he rings a bell with his left hand. After the incense, a flame is offered. After the flame, water. After the water, a towel for drying. Then a flower is offered. After which the conch shell is, after which the yak's tail whisk. And in the summer months, the deity's body is cooled by a peacock feather fan. And then in the end, there's the blowing of the conch. So all the different elements are there: touch, taste, smell, sound, hearing, everything is there. There are 5 elements: earth, air, fire, water, and ether. And they're all offered back to the Lord through the Artik ceremony. And the audience, those who have assembled for the Arti, are obliged themselves to bring an offering first, some flour, fruit, a little bit of rice. One shouldn't enter the temple empty-handed. And then to give the offering of singing and playing musical instruments, glorifying the Lord verbally and musically. The result of all of this combination of circumstances, this whole masala, this whole blend of spices, is artik. You get overwhelmingly attached to the Lord. Kiba jaya jaya goda chande arati ke soba janavi tatavani jagamana loba. In the evening, we sing these prayers written by Bhaktivinoda Thakur 500 years ago, in which he describes how his heart runs, his heart, when it's time for arti and he hears the bells, his heart leaps with joy. The sound of the mridanga drums, the most beautiful sound to his ears, and the tinkling of the bell, and the aroma of the incense and flowers which have been offered to the Lord, the touch of the moisture, the water, consecrating water in his head, the chanamrita that he takes afterwards, the musical sounds, the instruments and the chanting that enters. He says he sees Narada Muni, he sees Lord Brahma, he sees Lord Shiva coming into his humble hut in West Bengal there 500 years ago. He sees the demigods descending from the spiritual, the higher planets to attend the arti there in his humble hut in Bengal. Why? Because Bhaktivinoda Thakur hopes that his heart is pure. He hopes that because of his purity and selflessness, that he has succeeded in attracting the Lord to be present in order to receive those offerings. And it's not that the Lord comes to get some goodies. It's not that the Lord stands there on the altar because he needs your flame, he needs your incense, he needs your flour, he needs your donations in the donation box. He needs the food, the bananas, the avocados, the mangoes that you bring, the coconuts that you bring, that he needs your singing, your dancing. It's not that the Lord comes to get some free goodies. It's not that for the Lord it's Christmas morning underneath the tree. No. What attracts the Lord is none of that. At the end of the day, none of your offerings, none of your singing, none of the water, none of the incense is what causes the Lord to be present. It's the purity in the hearts of the worshipers. Gajendra is stressing this over and over and over. Atma Pradeep. Krishna is like a light, but the light there's no way we can force the light of the sun to tear through the clouds. There's no way. There's nothing we can do. We can jump up and down. We can sing. We can dance. We can yell. We can tunnel. We can run. We can fly. We can do exercises. We can do eye exercises, open them, shut them, look sideways from one side to the other, roll our eyes. There is no exercise of the eyes by which we can force the sun to reveal itself to us. The only way that the clouds can be torn, that the clouds can be separated, and with these eyes we can see the sun. It is said there's a part of the sun in each and every eye, but it's only by the grace of the sun that the eyes can see the sun. In a sense, the sun is seeing itself. A little part of the sun, which exists within the eyes, is seeing the sun by the grace of the sun itself. And the only way that that can happen is if the sun, with its immense unlimited power, creates a little pathway, a little break in the clouds. So that then the sun in the sky connect with that little expansion of the sun in our eyes. And that connection is made. So Krishna is Atma Pradeep. He's like the sun globe in the sky. And there's nothing that we in our minuteness can do to force the Lord to appear before us. That's only going to happen by the grace of the Lord. And so Gajendra uses this term, Atma Pradeep, revealing to the Lord, as if the Lord didn't already know it, that he's fully dependent upon the Lord for any progress in spiritual life. Now, that's the sun, that's the eyes. Gajendra is acknowledging that without the sun, the eyes can't see. So he's saying, I will not have your darshan. You will not manifest before me in a way that I can see you unless and until you so desire. And I recognize that. And I recognize that. I throw myself on your mercy. That's as far as seeing the Lord is concerned. Now, in all of that, Gajendra is reciting these beautiful Sanskrit prayers. Just imagine yourself back there in time on this other planet in this atmosphere. And there's an elephant chanting beautifully composed, sophisticated devotional prayers in Sanskrit. How is that? Gajendra in elephant script, his mind stripped of arrogance, his history unzipped, recalled mantras from a previous life, cut away his attachment like a knife. Formerly King Indradyumna, now in elephant form, yet his prayers echoed, weathering the storm, mantras resurfacing from the past, transcendental sound, awakening memories profound. Even if a devotee falls from the path, Krishna heart keeps track. At the right time, will take up the slack. He'll carry what we lack. He will get us back home, back to God. So here's Gajendra, and I'll paraphrase some of his prayers, which were composed and sung in his previous life as a human being, but when he recalls them with a purified heart, he's actually doing something the likes of which has never been seen, an elephant reciting prayers. So let's continue on here with my version of Gajendra's other prayers. He says, you're the observer, the transcendental preserver, the witness supreme, unseen behind this material screen, transcendental to the dream, the life in the machine, Lord of might, give me protection, guide me through the darkness up to the eternal light. Even a devotee falls in the path, Krishna, the heart keeps track. At the right time, will take up the slack, he'll carry what you lack. He will get you back home, back to Godhead. Through multi-potencies, you manifest your will, creating this universe, your purpose to fulfill. And when it's time to end, you absorb it all back, retracting everything into your, you absorb it all back like a spider retracts its web into its sac. Even a devotee falls in the path, Krishna, the heart keeps track. At the right time, will take up slack, he'll carry what you lack. He will get you back home, back to Godhead. Through multipotency, you manifest your will, creating this universe, your purpose to fulfill. And when it's time to end, you absorb it all back like a spider retracts its web into its sac. So chant Hare Krishna, the Maha Mantras call in this life or the next, It will never fail. Once it's sown, the bhakti creeper will grow. Sooner or later, you will get back home, back to Godhead. Even if a devotee falls from the path, Krishna, the heart, keeps track. At the right time, will take up the slack and carry what you lack. He will get you back home, back to Godhead. Continuing on here with the furtherance of Gajendra's prayers, he says, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, no birth, no death, no lack, no defect, no illusion, appearing in human form, he's the one I respect. Krishna and mantras, avatars descending down low, showing the way, the spirit to grow, manifesting on this earthly plane to restore Dharma again and again and again and again. Krishna, you're the Supreme Lord, defying comprehension, your actions divine, beyond human dimension, saving the devotees, uplifting to the light, annihilating the demons, ending their blight. Both achieve liberation at transcendental fate. The devotees go straight to your abode, the others wait in the impersonal zone. Don't mistake his actions for human affairs. He's nirguna, touched by material snares. The names Krishna and Ram hold power untold. Chanting them frees the soul, breaks illusions hold. Ajamil proved it, his story's well known. Uttering Narayan, his spirit was shown, the path of transcendence, escaping the night. So chant Hare Krishna and everything's bright. He appears among us in human disguise, but don't be fooled by pretenses. Open your eyes. He's not bound by Maya, this cosmic play. He's the puppet master guiding our way. His form's divine, his name's the key to showing us the way that we can be free. So rise above the temporary, the fleeting, the fake, and chant Hare Krishna for goodness sake. We talked about how Gajendra is saying, my eyes will not see you except by your grace. And now he's an elephant of all things. Uh, uh, we come across him in the heavenly planets with his wives and co-wives, with his leg attached by the crocodile. And miraculously, amazingly, he's got the lotus flower, which he's plucked from the lake, holding it, and he's reciting these beautiful Sanskrit prayers against all natural and physical laws. He's an emblem. He's a symbol. He's a living proof that the Lord can do anything. The greatest saints and sages cannot offer prayers to the Lord in such a way that the Lord is pleased. The only way that you can please the Lord is through the purity of your heart. And if your heart is pure, anything is possible. The Lord can make anything happen. So as unlikely and as unprecedented as it was, because of the purity which was underlying the words and the prayers of Gajendra, this amazing miracle took place that the elephant is offering a lotus flower accompanied by beautiful prayers. But what's happening is the Lord is praising himself. Gajendra, either as an elephant or as a king or as a great sage or a yogi or as a demigod, doesn't have the power to actually offer words of praise in such a way as the Lord is satisfied. But because of the purity of heart of Gajendra, the words are the vehicle by which his unalloyed devotion is wafted to the attention of the Lord. And then the Lord from within the heart unlocks the key from within, no less, the body of an elephant. So these beautiful prayers can be offered up to the Lord. There's a similarity here in the case of Dhruva Maharaj. Dhruva Maharaj was just a 5-year-old boy. What 5-year-old boy can recite sophisticated Sanskrit prayers? Most 5-year-old boys, when they're faced with the dazzlingly supernatural form of Lord Vishnu appearing before them, are dumbstruck. They're shy. They're unsure, lacking confidence. And sure enough, when Vishnu appeared before Dhruva Maharaj, Dhruva, all he could do was look down shyly and sort of draw figures, draw lines in the dirt with his toe, and and ah. But then when the Lord touched the boy's head with his hand, and his senses expanded at that point from the mouth of this 5-year-old boy, emanated, wafted out some of the most beautiful Sanskrit prayers. So all this is showing the essential principle of bhakti. That it's only when Krishna decides, it's only when the Lord allows that we can, in fact, render service to him. He facilitates. He is rendering service to himself. All we have to do is give him permission to do so. So today we talked about seeing the Lord by the grace of the Lord. We talked about offering prayers to the Lord by the grace of the Lord. Tomorrow we'll talk about being able to capture the Lord within our mind, such as Vasudeva did. So thanks very much for joining us. This has been Motivational Monday. And let's see who we have here and what their comments might be. First one to jump aboard was Balabhachandra, who, as we mentioned, gave a wonderful class last night called Go Home. Go home. If you look at the second last post on our Facebook page, it's posted there. It'll be there for 30 days. Please take advantage of it. It was a wonderful, wonderful, very crystal clear presentation. Nobody had any confusion as to what he was saying. Thanks to Lavati for joining us. Hare Krishna by Bobby. Shali, it was so nice to see you. I hope your daughter enjoyed the Sunday school program by Krishna Prasad. She does that every Sunday, and we're seeing more and more kids come to that. So bless Krishna Prasad for doing that, and bless you for coming. Brent Balabhachandra writes here, to spiritual things we are blind when we use only our eyes, words, and mind. Through humble, sincere inquiry, we can see what our heart desires through earnest plea. Inquire from someone that has found the root and serve them before you see the boy with the flute. Yeah, that incorporates most of the points that we discussed. To spiritual things we are blind when we use only our eyes, words, and mind. Through humble, sincere inquiry, we can see what our heart desires through earnest plea. Inquire from someone who has found the root and serve them before you see the boy with the flute. Oh yeah, I might have said 500 years ago. Thanks. Bye Bobby is always my fact checker. She's my fact checker. Bhaktivinoda Dakes, mid-19th century. Sometimes I get carried away. Show a disregard for dates and facts and accuracy. So thanks for always calling me to account. Bye Bobby. Saka Bilasi, thanks for joining us. If there's anybody else on this thread, I'm not seeing them right now. It's amazing how many times after I've posted and check everything, do a final check, that there are comments that I miss some or other. If I've done so, please excuse me. Hope this has been enlightening for you. It certainly has been a wonderful opportunity for me to discuss these things and further my own realization in doing so. We'll be back with more about the mind and how we can capture Krishna within our mind tomorrow, Transcendental Tuesday. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.